Joseph Abbott was exonerated on September 2, 2009, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, after serving 14 years in prison for 2 rape convictions based in part on misidentifications by eyewitnesses. On May 2, 1991, 2 sisters, ages 13 and 16, awoke in their Winston-Salem, North Carolina home to get ready for school, only to discover an intruder had entered through a kitchen window. At knifepoint, the intruder raped the 2 girls and bound their hands and feet. The assailant stayed in the house for more than an hour before fleeing. Although the opportunity to see the attacker's face was limited, the victims told investigators that their attacker looked like Joseph Abbott, a man who had previously lived in the neighborhood and had been a visitor to their home. The girls separately identified Abbott in a photographic lineup and police focused on him as the primary suspect. Rape kits were collected from the victims along with other evidence from the crime scene including bedding and clothing. DNA testing conducted on a piece of clothing did not match Abbott, but the clothing wasn't tied directly to the crime. Other DNA tests were inconclusive. Police issued a warrant for Abbott's arrest but learned upon investigation that he had left the state. Abbott was in Texas, being held in jail for bounced check charges. He was transported back to North Carolina. Abbott was tried before a jury in June 1995. At trial, the victims testified that Abbott was the man who attacked them. Abbott maintained an alibi that he was working the day of the crime, and although his employer testified, he could not provide a time card due to the 4-year time lapse from the crime to the trial. Based almost exclusively on the eyewitness identifications by the 2 young victims, Abbott was convicted of rape, burglary and kidnapping and sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences plus an additional 110 years. Abbott appealed his conviction, but it was upheld in May 1996. In 2005, Abbott applied to the North Carolina Center on Actual Innocence for assistance with his case. The organization accepted his case and began to search for evidence that could be subjected to DNA testing. At the time of Abbott's conviction, police were not required to preserve evidence after conviction. Although most of the evidence from the crime scene had been destroyed by the county clerk's office, a few items, including the rape kits, were located at the Winston-Salem Police Department. New DNA testing conducted on the evidence was initially inconclusive, but a second round of testing on one of the rape kits excluded Abbott as the perpetrator. Abbott was set free and officially exonerated on September 2, 2009. After Abbott's charges were dismissed, the state sent some of the physical evidence in the case to an outside laboratory for testing in an effort to identify potential suspects. The company reported in 2010 that Abbott's DNA was found on a sample taken from a bedsheet at the house. The police said there had been a rush to exonerate Abbott after his DNA had been excluded from samples taken from the rape kits. But one of his attorneys said the new evidence did not inculpate Abbott. The victim's mother had testified that she had sex with Abbott, which explained why his DNA was on a sheet. Abbott could have obtained $750,000 in state compensation, but he never received the required gubernatorial pardon. He filed a federal civil rights lawsuit that was dismissed in 2013. Abbott died in a traffic accident in March 2015. If you have learned something in this story, do share in the comments section below. Subscribe for more stories of people who have been punished for crimes they did not commit. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.